In the news today, free education, a political statement. Locusts wreak havoc in Karas and monkey business in the coast. Hello and welcome to your daily lunchtime show where we catch up on current events and headlines. My name is Glenora Shipura and this is NMH at 1. Firstly, we bring you video news from around the country. First up, National African Students Association Vice President Paulus Vihemba, at a press briefing in Rundu yesterday, spoke about the situation at schools, saying that free education remains a political statement and not what parents were promised over the years. Kenya Kambwe was there.
The nation was promised that the parents will not be required to pay school development fund, nor buy stationery, or education will be full funded and resourced by the government. However, 8 years after declaration of implementation of free compulsory education, the free education proves to be only a political statement, which is only on paper, but practical, it's not there. Especially with the featuring of provision of stationery and the parental contribution, which have replaced the school development fund. Ironically, it appears that the expenses spent by parents on the stationery and contribution on school development projects are 2 times more in the era of free education than before the implementation of free and compulsory education. NASA fails to understand what is free about this education. When parents and teachers are the one who are bearing the education expenses than the Ministry of Education. 1. We fail to understand when learners are being denied admission or report cards are withheld by schools for not affording to buy stationeries or pay the parental contribution, which is supposed to be voluntary, but is being enforced as a compulsory act. And the Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture are doing nothing to make sure that they tell the schools to stop making this practice to be as free. I mean, to be as compulsory as being practiced currently.
Next up, thousands of hectares of farmland in the Aramsvlei district have been sprayed to fight off another brown locust outbreak. This clip was contributed by the Ministry of Agriculture.
About 80,000 hectares of farmland in the Aramsvlei area has been sprayed to fight off another brown locust outbreak in the Karas region. According to the Agriculture Ministry, this is the 3rd outbreak in the region, and as of last week, spraying was carried out from the farm Nakop up to Swartkop. The ministry said that good rain experienced so far in the area created a favorable breeding environment for locusts, with these areas receiving a daily influx of egg-laying adult brown locusts from South Africa. Swarms have been detected since mid-December. While hoppers have started hatching, groups have not yet formed.
And in our 3rd and final video for the day, Adam Hartman from our Irongo office reports on some monkey business down at the coast.
There may be some of our viewers who remember the baboon that was discovered on a ship at Walvis Bay just before Christmas, which attracted a lot of interest considering it was something strange, but also not the first wild baboon to be seen on the loose in the harbour town last year. Irungu 24/7 did provide some coverage on the incident, publishing some contributed videos and photos, which brought some smiles, but there were also concerns of the young primate's fate, many fearing it would be euthanized. So, what did happen to it? But first, a little bit of background. Just before Christmas, on 21 December, a baboon was reported to be on a general cargo vessel, the Green Mountain, that sailed from Portugal and called at the port of Walvis Bay. The vessel arrived on the Sunday, according to the shipping agents, Max Shipping, and while there were at first speculations that the baboon may have come with a ship, either all the way from Portugal, although there are no such species in that country, or maybe it was a stowaway from one of the African ports along the way to Walvis Bay. The speculation was, however, snuffed because people said they already saw the baboon outside of the harbour on Saturday, the day before the ship arrived in Namibia. Speculations turned local that it may have been someone's pet that got away, but because it is illegal to keep a baboon without very special permission, the person allegedly opted not to come forward to report the loss, or that it was on a truck from the Democratic Republic of Congo and somehow, somewhere, slipped into a container that was loaded, and once it got to a container yard at Walvis Bay and the container was opened, the animal escaped. The latter scenario would not be new, as a few months ago, another baboon escaped from a container at Namport's container yard. That baboon was suspected to have entered the container when it was loaded in Zambia. When workers opened the container in August, the animal escaped but was later captured. The latest visitor had to be captured too, and even though it is a cute monkey, it was still a wild animal. And although a baboon, it was still a fish out of water, being at Walvis Bay, which is right between the Atlantic and Namib Desert. Baboons like mountainous rocky areas with trees and other vegetation. A process was set into motion to capture him, which was the responsibility of Alfred Schmidt, Walvis Bay SPCA manager and kennel master. For a day or two, the baboon was jumping from building to building and scaled the Namport barrier to board some of the vessels, either using the gangway or the mooring ropes. He was not comfortable with any attempts by his captors to lure him, either by a feeding hand or making baboon calls. He left the harbour area again. A dog trap was set at one of the businesses near Namport, and on Sunday evening the little guy was at the back of the box, trapped and standing on his head and looking comically at his captors, like a child in the middle of a funny game. There is a happy ending though. Environment Ministry spokesman Romeo Mayundo confirmed that ministry officials took the baboon into custody and released it in the Swakopmund River, which is lined with rock faces and lots of vegetation. The only hope now is that local baboons will welcome this new kid on the block into their troop with true Namibian hospitality.
And on the front pages of today's newspapers, you'll be able to read up more on the following. The Namibian Sun reports that the tourism sector, which is amongst the top contributors to the country's fiscus, shed 27.6% of its jobs during 2020 alone, mainly due to the restrictions put in place by governments worldwide to curb the spread of the deadly COVID-19 virus. The Republican reports that Namibian-born Reginald Amokoshi Mvula was one of the directors of the animated film Encanto, which won the Golden Globe Award for Best Animated Film on Monday. The Allgemeine Zeitung reports, while Namibian politicians in particular are propagating endless possibilities on the backs of hydrogen production, an analysis in October already warned that this new development would pose major challenges to a country like Namibia. The Namibian reports that the state has failed to submit extradition requests which would force suspects in Iceland to face criminal charges in Namibia relating to the Fishert case. In the new era, it is reported that SWAPO members of Parliament and Defense Minister Franz Kapofi has said it is delusional for the descendants of affected communities to think they can directly engage Germany on the genocide matter.
Have you received a loan from NSFAF? NSFAF loan is the same as any other loan. It must be paid and settled. NSFAF has a set of guidelines on how you can repay your loan and become debt-free. Therefore, it is important that you, a former beneficiary and a responsible Namibian, show your patriotism by helping pay back your loan and thus helping NSFAF become a revolving fund for the benefit of future potential students. By failing to pay back your NSFAF loan, you risk being blacklisted or having a court order against you. So arrange with the fund to pay back your loan today. For more information on how you can repay your loan, visit our website at www.nasfaf.na or visit our Facebook page or Twitter. Do the right thing and hashtag payback the money.
And on the inside of our country's newspapers, you'll be able to read up more on the following. According to MarketWatch, at the end of November 2021, the Namibia Revenue Agency collected 71% of the Treasury's revenue target of 49.4 billion Namibian dollars for the financial year 2021 to 2022. On page 3 of the Namibian Sun, it is reported that the National African Students Association has called on government to introduce a ceiling on how much parents should contribute towards the school development fund. Republican reports that Air Namibia employees who filed a case against the liquidated airline, relevant ministries, ministers, and liquidators last year will not yet receive their promised severance packages. The Labour Court has ruled the government cannot be held responsible for paying severance packages, but the case against the airline and liquidators will continue. The Allgemeine Zeitung reports that the President's Link Golf Estate in Walvis Bay is set to become one of 3 golf courses in the world surrounded by dunes. In addition, luxury villas, a sports training center, a cinema, and several restaurants are to be built on the site. The Namibian reports that a cross-section of female politicians in Namibia have voiced their concern over the slow progress of political parties in implementing 50-50 representation in party structures and parliament. In the new era, it is reported that with the grade 11 and 12 learners who have to write examinations due to question papers theft, the police have cautioned the public, especially entertainment places, to minimize noise for learners to study. The Zone reports about Omar van Rienen, who has made it a goal to uplift marginalized communities and to free those that are discriminated against and oppressed. And with that, we have reached the end of today's show. From me, Glenn Rashipura, please do join me again tomorrow, same time, same place. But before that, up next, the weather.